interfere with each other's internal affairs. In its response, Qatar's government expressed disappointment and surprise. The statement says that the moves taken by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, UAE and Bahrain have nothing to do with their national interests nor their security. The statement goes on to explain that the State of Qatar will always remain committed to brotherly principles concerning their brothers in the Council. Well, let's speak to Michael Stevens now. He's Deputy Director of the Royal United Services Institute think tank. Good to have you with us, Michael. So on the face of it, this is about a security agreement signed by GCC states several months ago. But Qatar itself says in that statement that actually this is a difference of opinion on a number of issues outside the GCC. What do you make of it?
I would agree that there's quite a lot of disconnect right now between the way that Qatar sees the world and particularly the United Arab Emirates sees the world. And I think the most contentious issue is probably the Muslim Brotherhood. I think Qatar has viewed them as a political actor that is legitimate and to be supported. It obviously has Sheikh Yusuf al-Qaradawi, who is a very influential pro-Muslim Brotherhood scholar living in its borders, and the United Arab Emirates views the Muslim Brotherhood as a regional security threat. I think this has been the core from which this problem, which has then spread to Saudi Arabia, also Bahrain, has come from. And of course the Saudis as well have taken quite a strong position on Egypt. They are very pro the new administration which is in power there, and Qatar is not. There are larger regional questions at play here as well. Qatar was never that supportive of the Bahraini government in its attempts to negotiate with protesters, unlike UAE and Saudi Arabia as well. And there are some issues to do with differences in Yemen. So there's plenty of questions here regionally in which Qatar is not really playing ball. And I would say the only thing that it really is seeing eye to eye with the rest of the GCC on is Syria. So there's a number of issues that need to be cleared up, and it's flared up in quite a serious fashion today.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, just how bad is this fallout? I mean, is this a temporary diplomatic spat, or could this evolve into something more serious?
Whether it's temporary or more permanent depends on Qatar's response. Right now, there needs to be some signal from Qatar that they have understood the concerns of both Saudi Arabia and the UAE, that they're working assiduously to correct some of those differences. Now, Qatar obviously has, in the last 3 years, developed quite a pro-Muslim Brotherhood stance. You can't just walk away from that in terms of your foreign policy ideas, if you like, and it's going to be very difficult for them to suddenly just about turn and pretend that nothing in the last 3 years has ever occurred. But I think if the Qataris can somehow show that they're willing to compromise, but at the same time whilst saving face diplomatically and not appearing to give too much ground, then I think that we might have a quick end to this problem. If they don't, then this could drag on and it could get far more serious.
I mean, is it possible to explain in simple terms why is there this disconnect over the Muslim Brotherhood? Why would Qatar see it as a group worthy of supporting, and its next door neighbour Saudi Arabia sees it as an absolute security threat?
Well, the Gulf nations have always had quite a close connection between religious clerics and political leadership, especially Saudi Arabia. The United Arab Emirates in particular views the Muslim Brotherhood as an international force without borders, if you like, that has politics married to religion, and that's something that the UAE can't countenance as being a sort of rival to the power of the Al Nahyan in Abu Dhabi. The Saudis likewise, who have a more Wahhabi or Salafi outlook on the world, don't view the Muslim Brotherhood and its marriage of politics and Islam as, again, a legitimate force within their own country. But there are pro-Muslim Brotherhood supporters in all of these countries. They represent a genuine political force, and that worries these Gulf states. Qatar, on the other hand, has had Sheikh Yusuf al-Qaradawi living there for 50 years. They have been able to form close links with the Muslim Brotherhood leadership, not just in Egypt but across the region, and so they viewed it as a chance for expanding their interests, whereas the other Gulf states have viewed it as a threat to their interests.
Yeah, interesting stuff, Michael. Thank you very much indeed for that. Michael Stevens,
thank you,
in London there. Coming up here on the programme, we'll be taking a look at the big issues and the big players as the world's largest democracy prepares for national elections.